Good evening, dear friends. It's time to start preparing for the new year. New Year's parties and corporate events are just around the corner. And you know what that means? It's time to take a look at your stomach. For my loyal viewers who watch me every year before the new year, you already know what's coming. I've prepared a set of highly effective exercises to help tighten up your belly. That belly that's grown over the year while you've done nothing to stop it. Now is the time to make a change before the new year begins. So, where do you turn? To Anton Alekseev's YouTube channel, of course. Here, you'll find all the exercises I've perfected and improved over the past year. If you followed my program last year, you likely slimmed down just in time for your corporate event. And guess what? The science of belly reduction has come even further since then. Let's be realistic. There's no way to completely eliminate fat in the few days we have before New Year's. But what can we do? We can tone your stomach enough that the fat won't stick out as much. Even if you don't have a lot of fat, some people's stomachs still protrude. What is the abdomen made of? Let's talk about the structure of your abdomen. On the outside, you have the skin. Underneath the skin is the subcutaneous tissue layer. This subcutaneous tissue layer is not particularly thick. Let's illustrate it. Green might be a better color. Your fat layer is a swampy green shade. Let's draw it here. This is the subcutaneous tissue layer. Here's the lower part of the abdomen, or maybe even more of it. This is where subcutaneous fat accumulates over the years, and many aim to get rid of it before New Year's. What comes next? A layer of muscle. Ideally, these are strong, well-defined muscles, but for most people, only thin, barely noticeable traces of muscle remain. The oblique abdominal muscles, the rectus abdominis, and the transverse abdominal muscles. What's left of these muscles can look like delicate cobwebs, especially when viewed in the summer sun. These muscles are typically surrounded by layers of fat. What lies under the muscle layer? There is another fat layer beneath it. Why fat again? This layer is called the greater omentum. That's the official term. The greater omentum is a structure that hangs down in the abdominal cavity. It's also filled with fat. This fat serves as an emergency reserve in case you ever stop eating or face a food shortage. This layer acts as a backup energy source. Beyond this fat layer, you'll find the intestines and liver. But even in these areas, fat accumulates. When the fat can no longer fit in one place, it moves to others. So, what are these two fat accumulations? Let me explain how you can get rid of them. When I was younger, back in my distant youth, I was very active in sports. We had weight categories and competitions, and you had to fit into a specific category to compete. At that time, I weighed 88 kilograms. Now I weigh slightly more. I wanted to compete in the 81 kilogram category because it was easier there. The opponents were not as strong. The other category, 91 or 92 kilograms, was full of powerful competitors. The heavier category had much tougher opponents, but the 81 kilogram group was less challenging. So, I managed to lose 8 kilograms. Usually, people start losing weight about a month before a specific goal, but most often, everything is left until the last week. That's what happened to me. I had to lose 8 kilograms in just 1 week. This method isn't ideal because it relies on losing water weight. You stop drinking water, run, spend time in the sauna, and sweat constantly. The water comes out, but as soon as you go back to your normal routine, you regain all the weight. It's not a healthy approach. If you've been watching my videos for the past 10 to 12 years, though I've been at this for about 15 years, you've probably noticed how my weight has fluctuated. Scroll through my videos and you'll see. I was thinner at times, then gained weight, then lost it again. This cycle repeated over and over. Over the years, I've lost and gained weight at least 15 times, with my weight fluctuating by as much as 20 kilograms, going from 110 to 85 and back again. Losing and gaining weight has become something I can do intentionally in just a few months. That's why I've gone through this process so many times, more times than you could count on two hands. If you want to know how to manage your weight, you should ask someone who has practiced it, like me. Have you ever wondered why all doctors and dietitians weigh less than 100 kilograms? Do you think it's because they know how to lose weight? Write your thoughts in the comments. Has anyone among them ever actually learned how to lose weight through real experience? Here's what I'll tell you. First, I'll explain how to quickly pull in your stomach, even if the fat itself doesn't go away right away. Then, I'll share how I've managed to lose weight without drastically changing my diet or giving up my food cravings, especially my tendency to consume too many carbohydrates. But let me address the criticism. This video is full of stories and no practical advice. If that's how you feel, stay with me for this next story. It's relevant. Two twin brothers, who were both doctors, conducted an experiment on themselves. This was featured on a Discovery Channel show, which I watched and will retell for you. Here's what they did. One brother ate only carbohydrates, while the other ate only fats. The experiment lasted 1 month. They were placed in identical conditions. They had the same physical activity levels, and everything except their diets was the same. The first brother ate sugars and all kinds of carbohydrate-rich foods, while the second consumed fatty foods, including meat and other protein sources. Now, here's a question for you. Who do you think gained more weight in the end? What conclusions do you think they reached? Take a moment to think about it. I'll reveal the result at the end. Meanwhile, let's get practical. Let's move to the abdominal area and focus on the muscles there. You'll notice how the position of the pelvis shifts depending on whether a person has a belly or not. Look here. This is the normal position of the pelvis, and here's the altered position caused by excess belly fat. What causes the pelvis to shift into this position? It's all about the muscles that stabilize and move the body. Let's consider a scenario. When our friend, let's call him Igor, walks, every step he takes reveals something about how his muscles function. We'll refer to Igor as I. Now, meet Nikita. Igor and Nikita are walking down the street. Nikita is ahead, walking steadily, while Igor struggles to keep up. Igor stumbles, gets back up, and tries to catch up. One of them eats only carbohydrates, and the other only fats. Can you guess which is which? As they walk, let's observe their movement. Igor, because his gluteus muscles and abdominal muscles are weak, cannot stabilize his pelvis properly. With every step, Igor's pelvis tilts backward, further and further, until it takes on a fixed tilted position. This affects his gait. It becomes a repetitive up and down motion, like this. Up, 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 up. Now imagine New Year's Eve. It's a fun time, and Igor joins the dancing at the office party. But his dance moves mirror his gait. His pelvis is tucked back, and his movements follow the same up, up, up pattern. His posture reflects the state of his muscles, and you can tell right away. His gluteus muscles aren't working, and his abdominal muscles aren't engaging. So what is working? Do you think nothing works at all? No. Other muscles are compensating, but they're overloading. The quadratus lumborum is painfully shortened. The iliopsoas is painfully shortened. The quadriceps are tight, and Igor's knees most likely hurt. Now let's look at Nikolai. No, he's Nikita. He's walking confidently, his posture upright. Why? Because his rectus abdominis is strong and functional. His quadriceps aren't overly tight or weak. They're working as they should. His iliopsoas is balanced, allowing his pelvis to stay stable with each step. In Nikita's case, everything works together. His quadriceps don't pull the pelvis forward unnecessarily. His muscles are balanced, and he walks without pain. Igor wants to achieve the same confident form as Nikita. So what can we do to help him strut around just as proudly? And let's not forget about the New Year's corporate party. Nikita can join the fun with spins, turns, jumps, and maybe even some singing. The next day, he won't feel any pain, not even a headache. After all, he doesn't drink alcohol. Unlike Igor, who's still searching for his sorrows at the bottom of a glass. So, friends, here's what we need to do now. We're going to strengthen the rectus abdominis muscle. At the same time, we'll relax the thigh muscles, particularly the quadriceps. Let's start with relaxation, because nobody wants to exert themselves too much during the holiday season, or any time of the year for that matter. Let the fools work hard. Work loves fools, as athletes like to say. Now, let's focus on the straight muscle of the thigh. To keep the lower back stable and ensure that the thigh muscles don't overpower the abdominal muscles, we'll start by relieving tension in the quadriceps. Domestic science and sports medicine have developed some useful tools for this. Or you can just grab a rolling pin from your kitchen. Place it on your thigh and just roll it out like this. This process will help relax the quadriceps, the straight muscle of the thigh. It will make them less tense. When the quadriceps aren't pulling the pelvis toward themselves, the rectus abdominis can engage. The abdominal muscles should be as strong as the thigh muscles. For many people, the thighs are stronger, which causes an imbalance. This imbalance affects movement, posture, and how the pelvis is positioned during a step. So, we relaxed the muscles. Now, step 2, we stretch. What do we do? It's better to stand in this position. I'll face you now. Hold on to something with your hands for support. To stretch the lower back and lumbar muscles, keep your legs straight like this. Yes, keep it straight, and at the same time, rotate your pelvis slightly forward to ensure your lumbar region doesn't strain during the movement. This stretch focuses on the lower back and lumbar muscles, with tension primarily in the hip joint area. Now, if we want to stretch the thigh, here's what to do. Bend your knee like this, placing it on a mat, and lean on the floor with your knee. Push your buttock forward with your hand. This position will create tension along the front of your thigh. If the stretch feels strong enough, hold it. If it doesn't feel intense enough, you can gently move back and forth to adjust. If this position is uncomfortable or your knee hurts, you can use a chair. Let me show you how. Place your foot on the chair, similar to how we positioned it on the floor. Lean forward into the stretch. This will also target the front surface of the thigh. It's essentially the same movement, but using a chair can make it more comfortable. For those who are more athletic, you can deepen the stretch by positioning your foot higher. place your foot on the backrest of a chair like this. In this position, you'll feel an even stronger stretch in the front of your thigh. If you want an even more effective stretch, you can combine stretching with massage. For example, while stretching the muscle, use a roller. Lie on your stomach, place the roller under your thigh, and roll it back and forth. You can target the entire surface of the thigh, starting from the knee and rolling upward. For a more comprehensive approach, you can also roll across the width of the thigh. This not only stretches but massages the muscle, enhancing the effect. Next, let's focus on the lower back. To stretch and relax the lower back while engaging the abdominal muscles, you'll need a soft, supportive object. Use a pillow or folded clothing. Avoid using anything too hard or high, like a roller, as it won't work for this exercise. Secondly, the surface must be soft, not hard, and we need something soft enough to provide proper support. Here's what to do. Place a pillow under your buttocks. This will slightly lift your lower back off the floor. In this position, press your lower back down towards the floor while engaging your abdominal muscles. Once your lower back is in position, hold that tension. Now, while maintaining this tension, try to straighten your legs. Don't allow your lower back to lift off the floor. Now bend your knees again, then straighten them again. If you find it difficult to keep your lower back pressed to the floor while straightening both legs, try doing it one leg at a time. Straighten one leg, then return it to the starting position. Then do the same with the other leg. Throughout this exercise, keep your abdominal muscles engaged. To ensure they're working, you can place your hands on your stomach to feel the tension. This creates static tension in the abdomen. At the same time, move your legs. This is the first stage of the exercise. What's the purpose of it? It teaches your leg muscles to work in coordination with your abdominal muscles. For example, Igor doesn't engage his abdominal muscles when he moves his legs. Nikita, on the other hand, uses his abdominal muscles properly. It allows for smoother and more effective movement. Now, let's take it to the next level. Take a roller and place it under your buttocks. In this position, first, straighten your legs completely. Lie down like this and check that everything feels fine. A little tension in the respiratory muscles is normal. Try to press your lower back toward the floor. It won't fully reach, but your abdominal muscles will tense up. Your stomach should remain engaged throughout. Hold the roller with your hands to keep it in place. As you stretch your lower back toward the floor, focus on these key movements. The stomach tenses up. Keep this tension under control throughout the exercise. Next, begin lifting one leg. While doing so, check that your abdominal muscles remain engaged. Then lower the leg back down. Repeat this movement with one leg 10 times, ensuring your stomach stays tense and your lower back is as relaxed as possible, especially the lower part. After completing 10 repetitions on one side, switch to the other leg and repeat the process. For a more advanced variation, lift and lower both legs at the same time. Throughout this movement, your lower back must remain relaxed. Your stomach stays tense. This is the most challenging stage of the exercise and should only be attempted by physically strong individuals who carry extra weight. Focus on mastering the first two stages before progressing to this advanced level. Limit yourself to the initial exercises for at least 1 to 2 weeks of consistent practice. Even the first stage is enough to start engaging and pulling in your stomach. Well, friends, I can see you're eager to lie down and try these exercises. You're tired of just sitting and watching. But it's New Year's, and surprises and gifts are waiting for us. Oh, and about the story, who lost weight between the two twin brothers? Who gained more fat? The answer might surprise you. Both of them lost weight. So, what's the conclusion? The experiment showed that if a person eats only isolated carbohydrates but uses them as fuel for physical exertion, as the participants did, they do not gain weight, as all the carbohydrates are burned as energy. Similarly, the participant who ate only fats and proteins, he also didn't gain weight. But there was a key difference. The one consuming carbohydrates handled physical exertion, especially endurance activities, more easily. The one eating fats and proteins became fatigued more quickly, but performed better in strength-based activities like lifting heavier loads. The real issue arises when carbohydrates and fats are combined, such as in a cake, which contains both, especially if the ingredients are not natural. The risk of gaining weight increases significantly. Plus, this combination tends to cause the body to retain more water. So, friends, here's some dietary advice from someone who has lost weight 15 times and gained it back 14 times over the course of 15 years. Pay close attention to the quantity of food you eat. The number of meals per day matters less than how much you consume overall. Stick to 3 meals a day. Keep it simple. Don't overcomplicate things. If you feel the need to snack before bed, try to limit it to one small bite. Ideally, it's best not to eat anything a few hours before bedtime. But let's be realistic here. Most people, like many of my viewers, don't have the willpower to follow this rule. Who can stick to a diet for just a few days before breaking down? Most of us are like that. We are weak-willed when it comes to food. So, let's take a realistic approach. In the evening, it's natural to feel hungry. If you try not to eat anything, you probably won't be able to sleep. So, what should you eat at night? Proteins. Can you eat carbohydrates? Absolutely not. Let me explain. Carbohydrates in the evening are a big no. Bread, sugar, honey. All of these contain carbs and should be avoided. Even honey, as healthy as it may seem, isn't suitable at night. And while fats are also undesirable in the evening, carbohydrates should be your top priority to exclude. When I say evening, I mean the last 4 hours before bedtime. During this time, stick to proteins only. For example, if you're feeling hungry before bed, eat something like chicken. It's a simple protein source that will fill your stomach without making you feel overly energetic. Proteins help you feel satisfied and allow you to lie down and sleep peacefully. So remember, in the evening, stick to proteins. Now let's talk about the first meal of the day. It's best to start with proteins. But if you can't resist carbohydrates because you're not in the right mindset or feel low on energy, it's okay to have carbs in the morning. Ideally, though, keep them limited. Until lunch, you can enjoy carbohydrates, but in moderation. Pastries, sweets, or rolls are okay in small amounts. For lunch, you can include a mix of carbs, proteins, and fats. But avoid combining large amounts of fats and carbohydrates together, because it is a surefire way to gain weight, especially in the belly. Still, you won't achieve anything unless you take action, physically or otherwise. To get rid of this issue, you need to use that energy-rich food you're consuming. If you don't use it for mental or physical activity, it will inevitably be stored in your belly. There's no way around it. For lunch, Try to eat a little less. Here's the key. Choose either carbohydrates or fats. Avoid mixing them, as it's a major factor in weight gain. The main rule is this: stick to protein in the evening. In the morning, you can eat whatever you like. During the day, reduce your intake of carbohydrates and fats and balance it with some protein. That's all for now, friends. See you in the new year. I'll be waiting for you, happy and cheerful. God willing, we'll see each other a couple more times before the new year. We'll catch up like this. Let's not lose touch. What's going on with you? Write about it in the comments. Until the next broadcast, help your parents and stay active with sports.